everybody, and welcome to episode 366 of the All You Can Hear podcast. My name is Wenzel, and joining me today are my two other co-hosts.
Pregnant with a baby. Colt. Salmon Row.
Wow, I don't even know what I'm just Tanner. I'm trying to find the link of what Colt said to what we're talking about today.
So
And-
the guy that says stuff and it happens, I just made myself pregnant.
Okay, so you have Unamaki's ability, and you gave yourself a child. Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
I guess I didn't clock that you saying I'm Colt pregnant with a baby was part of your Unamaki.
I did say it pretty quietly, I understand.
Well, no,
you did it.
oh man.
You very explicitly yelled, "I'm pregnant, Salmon Row."
Yeah, because I can't I don't want to make anything else come true.
Hey, I got a question for y'all before we continue. How many do you think over under 3.5 episodes of the podcast Colt has introed himself saying he's pregnant?
I feel like 3 is
Three.
accurate.
Three was my guess. Because I feel like one of them he said that he was pregnant with food. Then one of them he said he was pregnant with food, and now this one is that he's made himself pregnant.
Yeah. The other two have to be food related.
So you think
Yeah.
it's under 3.5? You think it's 3?
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's no way we'll ever know.
All right, you got the stats.
And
The pregnant stats.
Colt has
I
said
know.
on 117 episodes of the podcast.
I know if we gave this mission to Pat, for some
Oh, he'd
reason
know.
he'd do it. He'd do it.
Pat would do it. Yes,
He's
Pat
already
may-
got the stat.
I was going to say Pat may just know.
Yeah, Pat actually might just know. He might have it written down like Colt says he's pregnant this many times.
I could definitely see Patrick having a list of like every name everyone has ever introed with on the show. I could definitely see that.
Patrick's the good doctor, but for us.
Okay. have you ever seen The Good Doctor?
Yeah, he just knows medical shit, and he's like saying it.
Yeah.
Dude, my mom loved The Good Doctor. I actually watched the first 2 seasons of it when I still lived at home.
I have no interest in The Good Doctor.
You know, hey, it's not a good show, Wenzel.
Oh. Let's talk about something that's more controversial, I guess.
I got your segue. I am a sorcerer. I am a sorcerer.
God, why can I see
God.
fucking Yuji screaming that and instead of Dr. Han, it's fucking Sukuna, and he's just yelling at it's Sukuna's fucking mewing.
Viewing. No, okay. The image for Blackbeard that we used for last week's episode, somebody took that and instead this time they put Sukuna writing.
Fuck.
There's probably a version of that exists somewhere.
Oh, yeah.
In the bowels of deviant art. I'm sure you could find it. But Wenzel, what are we here discussing today? It's not The Good Doctor. That's next week.
Jesus Christ, no. We're not talking about that fucking show. So in the spirit of spooky season, and because this just recently happened, we're going to be talking about the ending of Jujutsu Kaisen.
The tragedy.
It officially ended on September 29th. We got announced for like several weeks. There was going to be 5 chapters left. So for several weeks, we were all anticipating every single chapter release. These were the big ones because again, it was just sudden. Everybody was notified. All the fans were pretty shocked, including us. So we were like, "Fuck!" Like, there's so much that has to be fit into these 5 chapters. Because if everybody knows, there's a lot in Jujutsu Kaisen that was brought up, never addressed, or finally was addressed, but again, it was crammed into 5 chapters. And so we're gonna just be giving our general thoughts and feelings about the ending. There are going to be spoilers, obviously, for Jujutsu Kaisen as a whole, but we're not going to talk about the whole story. We're just talking about how we felt about it overall and the ending. And then we'll even bring up some of the stuff that Gege Akutami, the mangaka, has either hinted at or created a storyline or thread that's still open to this very fucking day. So buckle up.
I also, before, like Wenzel said, there's going to be spoilers. We're not doing we're not breaking it down chapter by chapter.
No.
JJK.
All 271.
Yeah, all 271. I will also say some of the info we have now could change because Gege loves doing this thing where they include just a little extra bonus in when the actual physical volumes come out. So there could be like a missing thread that eventually gets revealed that as of, recording and as of this episode coming out, we don't have. Just want to future-proof that. Now. Maybe Gege is writing secret chapters.
I should say too, if maybe could be. I should say too, if there are any of these storylines that I do mention that I say are open, if they're actually closed, my bad. Or if there's stuff that's been addressed that we said hasn't. Well, I'm just repeating what I just said. If there's stuff that hasn't been that has been addressed that we say hasn't been, we're wrong. Sorry.
If we are wrong, you have permission to spank us. You got to spank us. That's the only punishment we're allowing.
I mean, I'm looking at this list, Wenzel. I don't really see anything on here that I everything on here I think is unanswered. I think these are all good things to put.
You forgot to write, we never saw Deku's father.
That's a different podcast. I made sure to go through. Sorry, did something happen?
Colt just went
okay. I thought so. So I went through like a bunch of threads, a bunch of people saying like what stuff hasn't been addressed, what has been. So yeah, I think this is a solid list. And hell, there could be even more stuff I didn't include. Tell us. Actually, would love to know just so I can hurt more. And then also too, I will also give some details, kind of like concerning Akutami and the ending, because there are some things that that happened in their personal life that kind of gives us a better idea why it ended the way it ended.
Yeah, breaking news, by the way, Wenzel is very good friends with them.
Wenzel is actually gay.
What the fuck?
Wenzel won't give us any of the money from JJK. And Wenzel also thought Curse Clash was good.
Oh God, that's the worst thing you could have said.
Okay. Well, you never see me and Akutami in the same room, so
I don't think I've ever seen Akutami.
Well, nobody has.
I don't think anybody has.
When I can, but yeah, Wenzel, I am glad you brought that up because I think that is something that a lot of I'm trying to think of a good word. JJK Glazers seem to overlook is that it's not a secret that mangaka is a very strenuous, very stressful job.
Yeah.
I mean, you just look at some of the greats. I mean, you have Togashi with Hunter x Hunter writing 2 chapters every decade. Now, even Oda, One Piece's schedule has changed. So Oda at least has a week off every month because Oda's had like heart attacks and stuff like that. I mean, God, back issues is like extremely common. I don't know if we know the extent of Gege's like health concerns.
We'll just go ahead and talk about it. So this is recent. Volume 28 just came out, and there was actually details in there that nobody had any idea about until this volume came out. So this was last summer. I believe it was last summer. Gege had appendicitis.
Yep.
and it was like it was literally emergency. Like they had to go to surgery because it literally just like if they didn't take it out, Gege would have died. And it was just kind of funny because in the volume, Gege themselves even kind of underplays it, but like really though, like they would have died. And then there's been several chapters where the art's like unfinished, or they've had to take multiple breaks because they're sick, and that's why some of the chapters, specifically whenever Maki is fighting her Zenin clan family, a lot of the art was completely just unfinished, and then the last panels of that is just text boxes.
Yeah.
It was because Gege was sick. That's happened a lot of times, and there's a huge rumor going around. I've told Colt this because it's just really interesting. And honestly, it has kind of just with Shonen Jump's track record, it has some kind of believability because Gege, apparently there was this discussions happening, and Gege was told, because their health was getting so bad after, like, especially after getting their appendix removed, that it was either to wrap it up in 5 chapters, like finish it now, or they would never get to finish it at all. Kind of driving Gege into a corner. That, again, this is just a rumor, so this is just speculation. But that was something that's been going around, like why they did it this way in the first place.
Yeah, I could definitely believe that. Although Gege what is on record of saying last year, probably the middle of last year, that they thought that JJK was going to end by the end of 2023. Obviously didn't happen. But then went on the record and said, oh, it should end by the end of 2024. So I feel like Gege has kind of given themselves like the runway to be like, hey, heads up, we're wrapping up the story. And at least from my perspective, pretty much, and again, we've already said open spoilers. The moment Gojo died in JJK, I feel like they could have ended it. I mean, not immediately after, but very soon after that. Like, and then there was, 36 more chapters, 35 more chapters.
Every single JJK character try to hit Sukuna.
It did. Okay, well, let's get into it. It did kind of. So I want to preface this by saying I love Jujutsu Kaisen. I've pretty much been enamored with Jujutsu Kaisen since I saw episode 1 premiere. I watched the anime first, and then I just got like fucking hooked. It hooked me that first episode, and read the manga, caught up with the anime, saw the movie in theaters, like the whole 9 yards. When they started doing the sitcom, and look at this guest star that's here after Gojo died in the Sukuna fight, which also included a Yuta possessed Gojo. It got a little ridiculous. Don't get me wrong. When this shit gets animated, I think it's going to be hype as hell. Like seeing all these characters that we're not going to see for a long time come back, and like Toto coming in, Nobara coming back, all that cool shit. Like, I know I'm going to lose my shit for it, but being a weekly reader of it, holy fuck, was it just like, oh my god, they're pulling every rabbit out of every hat of JJK. And then I think where a lot of people too get slightly annoyed with it is they threw pretty much every character with a name out at the end of the series, and then the series kind of ends and we're left with so many unanswered questions. It's a little ridiculous.
Yeah, and when it comes to that final battle, there's only like 3 to 4 actual people that actually tried to fight Sukuna that I thought was really cool, and they put, I don't even know how many, 20? Too many, if you ask me. Like the ones that I really, really liked from that were the Lawyer Man, fucking is Higuruma the lawyer, or is he the one with the sword?
That's the lawyer.
Yeah, that's
Wait,
lawyer.
sword?
The one that's like, I don't want to be here. Fuck this shit.
That's
that's Kusakabe.
Kusakabe and Toto. Those were my absolute favorites from that. I thought they were really, really good. Meanwhile, everyone else was it was something. And if you know me, you know I like JJK. I really do. I think the anime is way, way better than the manga. I was not huge on the Shibuya incident when I read it, but when I saw it animated, I realized that shit was baller as fuck. So this ending did not help at all with my view on JJK, especially the manga.
Yeah, I will say the manga definitely there is really good shit in the manga. I don't feel like I enjoyed the Shibuya arc in the manga. I do think the anime did it a ton of justice. I think the anime is like the definitive way to watch that or to consume that, stuff. But I mean, there's really cool stuff in the manga, but with the way JJK is structured, where it's pretty much supposed to be fights, short time skips until the next fights, short time skips until the next fights, and I don't think Gege in JJK, I think there's so much going on in the fights that you just can't properly put it onto paper, which is why I think they all come across as like hype as shit when you're watching it animated. But like it kind of lacks the fluidity and like the motion on paper. And I mean, the art's incredible. Like, don't get me wrong. Like, that's not what I'm talking about. It's just for something that is supposed to be so action packed. There's something missing there that I like personally. I do not think the manga is the way to consume JJK at all. It's the same way I feel about Demon Slayer, which is why I don't know the ending of Demon Slayer, because I'm just like, okay, the anime is the way to consume this show. And there's some mangaka that can articulate like the motion and the fluidity and the action of their battle shonen. I think Bleach is a great example, actually. I think Naruto is actually, especially Shippuden, is a really good example.
Also, I know that Wenzel smacks my nuts every time I say it, but I don't think Gege is the greatest artist. I'm not a big fan of his art style.
Oh, I don't smack your nuts on that.
You smacked my nuts before. You smacked him and you said, that's a bad boy. And I whimpered.
I mean, I don't think
that's how that went down.
If we're comparing them to other mangaka, yes, I agree. Is their art very good? Like, yeah, obviously, you don't get picked up by shonen if you're not good at that.
I wouldn't say that.
Well, okay, there are examples where you can, but you usually have to have the full package there.
But consistency is no go for Gege.
Yes,
yeah,
I think that's the problem. Is that, and again, it kind of goes back into the health things. Like, I get it to an extent. It is kind of wild, and if I had to guess, the manga wouldn't have went so long if the show didn't get so popular pretty much immediately. I feel like the manga would have ended much, much sooner if the anime didn't pop off the way that it did.
Maybe.
I can see that, because around the time the first season ended, I feel like that was when Gege's like, yeah, I've got like 3 more years in me.
Yeah, no. So when the first season ended, the Shibuya arc had just ended in the manga. They were just starting the Culling games.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I personally, I don't think it would have got drawn out as much if, again, the show didn't just blow up, and then obviously manga sales blow up with it. So that, I mean, there's a lot of factors, but I want to stress that we're not coming at least. I think all of us, I think I can speak for all of us here. We're not coming from the perspective of like, yeah, we knew JJK was mid. This is mid as shit. We all really, really love JJK. And I mean, at least with Wenzel, and I do also kind of want to talk about this. The leak culture for Jujutsu Kaisen was fucking crazy. I've actually have never seen a manga where it's this bad. And like, and people are getting like Twitter famous for leaking chapters of a manga. That's fucking insane to me.
Also, just the fucking leak culture and how like it's full of absolute degenerates that have no care for other people in the sense that they will just say the spoilers immediately, and it's not even official translation, but it's so fucking awful. Meanwhile, One Piece, I don't have a single One Piece related thing muted on Twitter because I never see spoilers for One Piece. No one ever says spoilers for One Piece. And the thing is, spoilers for One Piece, the leaks, people look at those shit like crazy, but they're like, yeah, that shit's crazy. I'm not going to say anything because I want the surprise to be there for the people on Sunday that want the official translation.
Oh, yeah, for sure. Yeah, that's something I want to bring up because, like, obviously, like, it's shown in leaking. It's not like these specific things are leaking, but like One Piece leaks aren't as toxic. The My Hero leaks, when My Hero was still going, wasn't as toxic. The Jujutsu Kaisen leaks were in a league of their own. I mean, people, like, there are subreddits dedicated. Wenzel, I'm sure you've seen the Jujutsu folk subreddit.
Yeah.
Where it's just like the most insane people talking about Jujutsu Kaisen. I read like a multi-hundred comment thread today about if Gojo would have just delayed the battle by 1 hour, he wouldn't have died because Nobara would have got woken up from her coma and she could have soloed Sukuna because she had the finger the whole time.
Jesus.
Like, that's insane. There was people literally arguing about that. So yeah, it's
called irony.
It kind of reminds me of when we all used to watch Rick and Morty, and we would talk about Rick and Morty. Well, I haven't watched it. I'm talking about like back when we did like the non-canon file for like
yeah.
And we talk on that show, and we're like, yeah, we really like Rick and Morty, but man, the fandom really fucking sucks.
Yeah.
And it feels just like that for Jujutsu Kaisen because the power system is just complicated enough where somebody can talk themselves into being really smart because they get it. And it's really, it's not a difficult power system. Like it's just not.
It's not Hunter x Hunter. It's just not.
No, it's not. Like, I mean, God, there's so many things are much more complicated than that. And it's just.
Well, I think the reason why there's a lot of like talk about the power system is because so much is still unexplained.
Yes.
That's a problem. And so there's a lot of like theories around like the power system because there's still so much that isn't explained. I won't really get to it right now, but that's some of that stuff is in our section we'll have about open storylines, is that a lot of the mechanics of their power system are still unexplained, and characters use these abilities pretty oftenly.
Oh, so. Yeah. That's not the part I'm talking about. I'm just talking more so of like, I didn't like the people talking about, well, Gojo would, win in every anime verse because of Infinite or Infinity. And it's like, no, that's just not, it can't be how these powers work. You just have no basis.
Akainu could kill Gojo.
Yeah, easy.
I believe easily. Just put him in a ball of magma. He cooks. Can he keep heat out? No.
We talked about it at Comic-Con where we were like, Goku.
Well, yeah, Gojo can keep heat out.
Infinite.
Yeah, Gojo can keep heat out though.
Yeah, he fought Jogo. Yeah, Jogo.
I understand that, but why does it keep heat out? Does it keep only things that harm him out?
Yeah.
I think.
But why can't people touch him?
Because he has it set to like, because it's I don't know, man. It's fucking Infinity.
Sounds like it's convoluted and not great.
Well, okay.
I mean,
so,
you're asking this. Well, okay, but you're asking these questions. But it's like we're already at the end here. It's like you didn't question this right until now. I mean,
No, I've always thought this because I thought Infinite's like that's just like I've got God armor. I've got God armor. You can't hurt me.
Well, I mean, to be fair,
that's,
you can touch Gojo if you move fast enough.
Well, that only if, but that's the thing is like you can't because it's Infinity is constantly. No shit, dude. That's literally the point of it. But like, literally, so it's an infinite series of numbers, right, between 0 and 1. So if you can't cross an infinite series of numbers, then there's no way you can touch him. I mean, the reason why too is because it's just automatic. He just sets it automatic. So if you can't touch him, you can't touch him. If he turns it off, you can touch him. But if he turns it back on, and then he has it said too, where like he's able to he's like working on it and able to distinguish certain things. So it's like it's like a weird, complicated thing. And I mean, Gege themselves even addresses that it's kind of weird. But I mean, that's just, I don't know.
I just feel like Jojo early that it's a broken ability within JJK. That is extremely broken.
Which is why Gojo is as powerful as he is. Like, that's the whole thing, is that every time anybody talks about how powerful they are, they always say, well, but then there's Gojo who's number one. It's because of that barrier. Like, that's the whole thing of JJK is like barrier techniques. Barrier techniques are some of the most powerful techniques in there because barriers.
Yeah, like now that I think about it, I feel like the Jogo fight should have gone differently. When it comes to the Heat just, that's the thing that I'm getting stuck on, is like, I feel like Heat should not be blockable since it's not necessarily a physical thing. What is Heat?
Colt, it's radiation.
Colt, what is radiation?
I agree with you. That
is it a solid, a gas? Like, is it something physical?
Yeah.
Radiation. I mean, it's no, I mean, gosh, I don't know. Like, you know, energy, like protons, electrons, neutrons. You know, I don't know. I'm trying to think. Like, energy. It's oh gosh, why are you making me fucking do chemistry right now, you bitch?
It just feels like Heat should be very good against Gojo. It doesn't make sense how Infinite can block that.
Colt, the way you have to think about it, Wenzel kind of touched on it here. God, I can't believe we're talking about this.
They got to give Gojo cancer with some radiation is what I'm thinking.
Jogo got robbed. No, the way you have to think about it is that Heat does technically have mass, which is what it is pretty much in the basis of it all, is what Infinity can block against is mass.
Yeah, so
mass
radiation,
matter in all forms.
So I guess that is how Sukuna defeated him.
Hold on. Okay, sorry, go ahead. Actually, continue your thought. Sorry.
I was thinking like maybe the way Sukuna defeated him, it isn't so much bullshit, because maybe it was like some unknown fucking thing that he just made up on the spot. Fuck it. I mean, that's what Gege did in the first place.
Well, I mean, that's also kind of, I mean,
what happened.
That's kind of what happened. Yeah, with the binding vows.
I just wanted to say, radiation, definition-wise, is energy released in the form of particles or electromagnetic waves. So particles. And yes, particles, yeah, so.
What about heat? I know I keep bringing this up, but it's my brain works like this. I can't help it. When I think, like, heat has, it heats up air. You need air to breathe. Yes. How is he breathing if the air can't come through because it's so fucking hot?
Well, because there's a layer in between Infinity and him where Infinity is not technically an armor. Infinity is the densening. That's not the word. But he's creating Infinity around him. It's not like Infinity is like, okay, now I have my Infinity suit on. Infinity is what's around him. So he essentially what happens is it captures the things within. First of all, we should also mention anime logic too. So you kind of have to throw some of it out. Like you could say, oh, he has infinity everywhere besides his nostrils.
I was gonna say, Colt, this is kind of a you problem. Like you're digging really deep into this. Like, no offense, but you're digging really deep into this, and it's just, it's anime, it's sorcery. Like, I don't know.
If I had to guess at the root of it, Gege did not think that hard about it.
Also too, if you think about any sort of barriers in anything, like, okay, everybody, like, there's like a bunch of other magic shit where people have barriers and stuff, right? I mean, like, what about that? It's like, oh, what about the oxygen supply? Like, I don't know. And I mean, there could be, and like I said too, there's that shit that happens earlier where Gojo's talking about being able to discern between like poisons and stuff like that. So maybe he has a part of it figured out. I don't know. The six eyes, again, something else that isn't explained. The six eyes might help him with that. But I just don't think there really is any need to think about it too hard.
I know. It's that's just the way my brain is. I don't think Gege even cares. I think the whole point.
Yeah, because when you think about it, domain expansion.
Gege does care.
Yeah, I think Gege cares. I just don't think Gege thought that hard about it. Because if you think about a domain expansion, it essentially forms a barrier around like your opponent, like every domain expansion does. It essentially encloses you and your opponent into a black orb. So if we're talking about oxygen, why the fuck is there oxygen in there? Like, it doesn't technically make sense.
Okay, here, no. So think about it like this too. Also, I should say Gege does care because he's done multiple bonus things talking about him thinking about Gojo's ability and the math, and how he even got corrected about the math one time, and he felt really bad about it. Anyway,
why couldn't he care about all these other open storylines?
Shut up.
Hey, don't mention that.
Well, so the domain expansion. So what's interesting about that, like, is the fact that they're creating a separate space in our universe. So probably when they're making it, I mean, it probably is like the idea is that it's a separate dimension within our dimension, but it's carrying oxygen in it because they're like, it might be flowing through it or it comes with it. I don't know.
We also don't know. Cool. For all we know, cursed energy could be an oxygen replacement. They don't even fucking need it.
That is true. I don't know. I mean,
just honestly, like thinking about it, like, I mean, hey, add it to the open story thread. What happened to all the air?
Oh, Jesus Christ. That's an insane topic that I don't think could ever, like, I don't see. That's something nobody should think about. Like, that's so stupid. Like, if you want to think about that in the real world, that's fine. But like, if we're talking about like just a made up story, like, who fucking cares?
Yeah, if you want to think about somebody doing domain expansion on Earth for real style.
Oh my God. It's like, oh yeah, this guy can create his own alternate dimension, but he has to think about bringing all the elements from this dimension into that dimension. So stuff can exist.
Wouldn't that be a great bit though? Like, the first time Gojo does domain expansion, and Gojo tells Yuji to be like, "Yeah, we can't fucking breathe in here. We don't know how air can get in here. We're fucking dead, kid."
But Jogo can breathe because he doesn't need air.
Yeah, because Jogo's a demon.
And Gojo could breathe because he doesn't need air either because he's Gojo.
Yeah. God, that's good shit. That is good shit. Wow.
What were we even talking about at first? Fuck.
I don't know.
See, this is why I was worried. I was so worried of us because I've been trying to keep my thoughts, but then we've gone so far from like originally when we started. I'm like, fuck, I don't even know. God.
But Wenzel, why don't you give some of your thoughts? I mean, I feel like I've kind of said some of my thoughts. I feel like Colt's kind of said his. What are some of your thoughts about the ending?
I don't think I will.
Oh, okay. Well, let's talk about the air some more.
His thoughts. No. So, like Tanner said, I mean, out of all of us, I'm probably the biggest JJK fan because
I'd agree with
he dick rides it like crazy. Every time I talk shit on him, he punches me in the balls.
Well,
that's after he slaps his nuts too.
Yeah.
Yeah. So like I love JJK. Like after the first season, I immediately started reading it. Like Tanner, I got fucking hooked. So I really like when we did this, it was because we were like, we have to talk about it because this is like one of the biggest things in Shonen Jump, and it's ending, and it's also one of the biggest series that we've kept up with for like years now since we watched the first anime. I mean, hell, like we even we weren't necessarily part of the leaker culture. We just like to see the leaks. I know me and Tanner would message each other about it, and like Tanner said, the leak culture is insane.
Well, like I wouldn't even go
just
looking for it. I would just get it on my TikTok for you page.
I would usually get it as well. I never really look for it either.
Yeah.
But then eventually I would just do it because I was like, I'm gonna probably see it anyway. So I don't care. I love it so much too. And I'm so hyped for it. So it didn't really matter to me. But yeah, people were just crazy. Just did not give a shit. It's like, it's so weird because this phenomenon like of JJK leaks being as big as they are, will never happen again. You know, it's wild. Like only this period that it happens, and now it's over.
Yeah, like I can't. I mean, again, One Piece leaks are big, but they're not like toxic.
I think it's the youth. I genuinely think it's because the youth is all about like trying to get that one up on someone. Like, I know this before you. I'm going to spoil it for you. I'm going to make this experience bad, which is why I think Dan is going to be the next one that's going to have it real bad.
Oh, I mean, I can see. Honestly, I know you said Dan. I could see everybody going to Chainsaw Man, which I don't. Does
Chainsaw Man really can't be leaked?
Yeah, I guess it's not in Shonen proper.
I was gonna say Chainsaw Man. You never have to worry about that.
Yeah, I guess
pretty
that's
awesome.
Unless somebody broke into Fujimoto's house and just took photos of what he was working on.
Dude, I could see Fujimoto being such a fucking freak though. He just leaks it himself.
Yeah.
He's just like, whoa, where'd these leaks come from? But it's like on his account.
Yeah. He quote tweets his tweet with the leaks in it. He goes, what the fuck? I could see that. But yeah, no, Wenzel, I think you're totally right there. I can't see like another series where this happens at least immediately again. But I mean, it all kind of boils down to people like when you hit retweet on Twitter.
Also, another thing is when you read One Piece, it has a beautiful message of caring for everyone, basically. That all the people caught up, they're usually good people. Unlike the people that are this new gen.
Colt's really speaking for a lot of people right now. They're usually good people.
Yeah, I do agree. I think that
morally
is the boomers manga. I also think the difference is One Piece has been so long and so drawn out, and there's been down periods of One Piece. All of One Piece isn't great. Definitely been down periods, but there's been down periods. Whereas with JJK, despite it going 271 chapters, it was like pretty much if one chapter didn't have your dopamine hit, the next one would. Like it's very much like it's almost like the first shonen made with Zoomer mentality, where they're like there has to always be something happening or they're going to lose interest. They do not want 7 chapters of dialogue until we get to the end. They do not want just like all this exposition, which I think, which is funny because I think that's where JJK falls flat on its face.
But yeah, where it got hurt the most is that it sucked at exposition.
Yeah. And I think that's where JJK hurts the most is so many open-ended stories because of the lack of exposition.
And that's the thing is like there is still a lot of exposition, but not explaining the stuff that. Like that's the thing. I should say too, Akutami, Tatsu, and Fujimoto are all 3 people who like kind of fed off of each other in terms of like styles and like and themes and pacing. So yeah, that kind of makes sense for Akutami to be going that fast as they do, but also too, whenever it came to this, they weren't going as hectic as Dan to Dan or as Chainsaw Man in an effective and gripping way. I also wanted what?
Tanner, you there?
What? Oh shit!
Tanner
is he cutting out?
Yeah, I think Tanner.
Damn it!
Milton got him. Milton Bradley.
Okay, well, that's down there.
If you can hear us, say something. If you're in the room,
hello,
say something.
Hello.
I think I hear.
I feel like he's here.
I feel a presence. I feel a presence. It's somewhere. It's somewhere low. Really, really low. Really low. Really low.
It's running down my leg.
That's Sukuna's presence. What the hell's happening in Shibuya?
Shit, I haven't done this since the Heian Era.
Winds are changing.
I was going to start the episode by singing Judas.
Why? Oh,
Judas by Lady Gaga, the fucking Gojo Sukuna fan animation?
No, I don't know that.
I don't know what that is.
Dude, Judas by Lady Gaga is like the JJK song on TikTok.
I don't think so.
What?
Oh my god. No. Oh my god. Oh my god. Now y'all are the boomers.
All right.
I think the Hikari funk song is more popular.
No, Judas is definitely more popular.
I mean, yeah, because it's Gaga.
But I'm talking it's more.
I think Tanner's crazy. It's only got 2 videos under that sound.
All right, can we get back to what we were talking about?
I already forgot.
Yeah, okay, no, now shit. Okay, now I remember. I ended off. You know what? You don't need to, Tanner. If you want to know what I said for that part that got cut out, you can just listen to the fucking episode.
Yeah, fuck you.
Yeah, bitch.
I mean, I don't know when you. What was the last thing you heard me say?
It was so funny, Wenzel. Where it cut off was like an end of a sentence for you. So I just thought you stopped talking, and then I was like, Did he cut out? Was that the end of his thought? And then I found out I cut out.
What was the end of my thought?
He forgot.
You literally went, oh, fuck me. What was it?
Oh, my God.
Oh, shit. It's just fucking Dementia Cast. The Jujutsu Kaisen's making us forget.
No. Oh, my God. Because we were talking about, like, Chainsaw Man and JJK, like, all being, like...
Okay. I said... Tatsu, Fujimoto, and Akutami all fed off of each other in terms of themes and pacing, but whereas Danadan and Chainsaw Man is hectic and moves at a gripping pace, Akutami doesn't do that well with Jujutsu Kaisen. That's really all I said.
Now that I think about it, I think it's because Gege chooses to explain things more often. That's why we expect so much when it comes to the better exposition, because if you think about it, Dan to Dan and Chainsaw Man, they don't really do exposition and they're really fast paced. But I don't have a problem with that because it's just great as it is.
Yeah.
And I don't have a precedence of like, I need that explained. But with Jujutsu Kaisen, I need that explained because I don't know what the fuck's going on.
Yeah. Like with Dan to Dan and Chainsaw Man, like it is on a surface level, very straightforward.
Yeah.
Whereas there will be stuff in JJK mentioned, like, oh, by the way, Sukuna defeated the 5 Void Generals.
What is that?
Who did he beat?
Like, yeah.
Why'd you tell us that?
Yeah.
Yeah. So Dan and Chainsaw Man set up these very clear, like, rules and universe, and while there's some stuff that's left unexplained, it kind of adds to the mystery and it just kind of like you said, it just kind of works. Like there really isn't much stuff that needs to be explained. It's like what is there is just there and it just happens, and it's nothing crazy, or it is crazy, but it's nothing where like Fujimoto is throwing all these exposition boxes at us and it's just like, oh yeah, so this stuff will get explained and blah blah blah. But with Akutami, they set up so much, show so much, say a lot, but then none of that stuff connects.
Yeah.
Like they say a lot where a lot of it doesn't matter.
Yeah, and I wanted to mention too, going back to when talking about Akutami's art style, my thoughts on that. So I've said this quite a bit, and no offense, Akutami has their own style, and that's fine. They have some really good panels, but a lot of the time their art is lacking. There was something about like Tanner says, I think he says it's really well, is about how when it comes to the fights and the fluidity, it's just not there. That's how I feel. The characters, they feel stiff. They feel so stiff whenever they're moving or fighting. And that is partially because of how Akutami does like silhouettes and the human anatomy. It's okay. So it's not the best. But even though we're talking about exposition and story, that was a lot of the appeal, was how much shit was there. And again, there was some stuff that looked really cool or seemed really cool. So, it's just
there's great panels in Jujutsu Kaisen. Thinking about like the Todo, Yuji, Mahito, like 3-way panel where they all hit 120% of their potential. That shit fucking rocks.
Or like the Gojo death scene.
Yeah, like talking about later chapters, or even like when Yuta opens his domain expansion, like with all the fucking swords lying everywhere. That shit looks cool as shit. But also, what's the common thread in all of those panels? There's no motion being depicted. They're all still images.
Which I understand that completely. So I can't be too hard on Akutami, because depicting characters move in high intensity action like this, doing like magic shit, I can understand that's really fucking hard.
Oh yeah.
So like whenever you have these static images, like of course you can do a lot. You can put a lot of emphasis and detail because nothing's moving, so everything kind of just sits and lays where it stays where it lies. So yeah, I get that, but again, I just think the art is kind of okay, and yeah.
Yep, Wenzel spitting.
Clean your mic off.
I did.
Do we want to like kind of?
Tanner's gone.
Tanner cut out.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Repeat yourself.
Do we want to run through some of these open storylines and kind of maybe talk about like this would have been cool to see where this went, and maybe not all of them since there's like 30 listed here. But just maybe like hit some of the big ones and be like, oh, this would have been cool to see expanded upon in this way. Or
can I pull one up that's like is bothering me a lot?
Yeah, I don't think we have to go in order at all.
I want to say one more thing really quickly.
Okay.
I will say Gojo's death, like I know we just brought it up earlier, but whenever Gojo gets cut in half by the world cutting slash, at first I remember I was like, oh, I'm okay with this, it's fine, it's whatever. And then we just said like Sukuna kind of made it up on the spot. I still don't understand how that even happened. Like that's something that still bothers me. I'm like he should have seen the world cutting slash because of the 6 eyes. And it's not like he couldn't teleport or do anything. He could have done something. So I don't understand.
Does the 6 eyes show you all future?
Okay, here's the thing though. That's one of the open threads. We don't know what the 6 eyes does. All we know is that it lets them have control of curse energy at an atomic level. They can analyze curse energy of others, and then potentially maybe they can learn the curse technique of other user. But they never say that outright. Like Gege never tells us what the six eyes are. And then not only that too, he says like, oh yeah, six eyes, users are always born like this amount of time, and for some reason they're born while the star plasma vessel is also born. They're connected by fate for some fucking reason. So what's that?
Like, what the fuck are you throwing at us, bro?
Pretty much Gojo's death was a plot device, which is fine in a way, but it's not fine when, I don't know, that he kind of. And I get it. You do not owe people anything. I do think that, because Gege has talked about it in interviews. Gege did not like Gojo as a character. Was not one of that just didn't like Gojo. I don't think that the popularity polls with Gojo always winning helped Gojo stay alive. I think if Gojo was less popular, he would have lived. And I sincerely mean that.
Yeah. Oh gosh. Okay. I'm so sorry to detract like this again. Should mention quickly Akutami's philosophy on killing characters. Akutami kills characters that he believes people are the most emotionally invested in, and if people aren't emotionally invested in them, he doesn't kill them. That's kind of shitty because
that's not a good way to write, if you ask me.
Very few characters actually died, and one of them nobody was emotionally invested in. So why the fuck did they even die? Kishimo, if anybody's wondering. And also too, the reason why Akutami doesn't like Gojo as much, they hate him. They hate Gojo.
Yeah.
Akutami wrote Gojo kind of a little bit based on themselves, so which is funny.
Oh, so Gege's got the infinite.
Yeah, Gege has the infinite. So, but sorry.
That explains so much.
Now we're going into open storylines. What was it that you're going to say that bothers you, Colt?
Yeah, this one it's probably the first thing I thought of when I read that final bit of the Sukuna fight. It was the Hikari versus Uraume, because as soon as Sukuna dies, Uraume's like, "Oh, word," and they kill themselves.
Yeah.
What the fuck was that garbage? They said, "Oh, we're gonna go fight over here now to give them time." Nothing. And then I'm gonna kill myself now. Goodbye.
It was so insane because people were like, it'd be so funny if for some reason these last 5 chapters they cram Hikari versus Uraume in this.
I'd rather
I'm like, please. I was like, please, for the love of God, don't do that. But also too, what the fuck, man? What the fuck? And it's literally just that. Uraume cuts their own head off with their own ice. Like, okay,
sure,
bye.
Okay.
And it's so funny too, because Hikari is so fucking popular, and Hikari gets one actual fight in the whole series.
And it's one of the best fights in the entire series.
Yeah, I agree.
It's so fucking cool. It's so fucking cool. I'm so excited for that to get animated.
Yes.
But holy fucking shit, the Uraume Hikari fight could have been so fucking cool, because it was literally whenever Kishimo dies, and so now they're having to throw basically their big fighters onto the field. It's like, okay, Yuji, Higuruma take on Sukuna. Hikari, you got to distract Uraume, and already Uraume is like putting up a fight against Hikari, and Uraume is like, I'm gonna fucking kill you, and Hikari's like, let's fucking go. It's just like, oh shit, man, this is gonna be insane. Chapters later, peace. Just fucking dies, and Hikari's just shirt, like all of his clothes are just ripped to tatters because it was an insane fight, but we never saw it.
And then another insane thing was with Kishimo's panda fight was pretty sick. I really enjoyed that.
Oh,
but what happened there, gang? Why was he one shot?
That was actually a really good one. So that was actually a thread that had been closed, but to be fair, it was closed, I would say prematurely, or not rightfully, because the so most of the manga, we're given this hint early on about Panda having a third sibling, his sister core. And we're like, oh, fuck, what's his sister core, And then we finally get what his sister core is. We finally see it manifest. He's a fucking Triceratops.
Awesome.
But that gets hit in one shot and loses all of his cores except for loses his brother, his sister cores, doesn't lose his main Panda core. That's it. That's it. His cores are gone.
That's another thing about JJK that I wish Gege adopted from Chainsaw Man and Dandadan, is that they use their powers constantly. They bring up their abilities constantly of the main characters instead. Like, you get these super awesome abilities in Jujutsu Kaisen, but it's only for one fight and never again. The manga guy, the fucking Hikari, you got just so many characters. Just once and never again.
Yeah, it was so, like, I remember too telling Colt, like, when this fight's going on, I was like, yeah, man, I wonder what happened to the manga guy. And Colt was like, who? I was like, Charles Bernard. And Colt was still like, who? It's like, that's the guy that Hikari fought. The guy that Hikari fought that had a pen that every time he cuts you, he could see like a second into the future. And it was just like, oh shit. that happened back in the Colin game.
He was only introduced to have that one part in the final battle that was barely anything.
It was barely anything. Literally, they were like, oh yeah, we had to take a piece of Charles' rib so that Rika could eat it so Yuta could gain his ability to see into the future. But it's just like, okay. Like, I'm glad we finally caught up with what's happening, but I mean, okay. Just okay. I'm trying to think. The Panda stuff was really, and then also too, fucking the weird thing about like curses like being passed on and telling people curses and stuff was really like something that set up too, because fucking Masamichi, Panda's dad, the principal.
Yeah, rest in peace.
He dies, but then he tells Principal oh god, how do you say his name? Gakuanji?
Something like that.
Gakuniji, or sorry. The other principal, the old guy, he tells him how he's able to create cursed corpses that like think independently or whatever. He tells him, and so like he's like, oh, I'm passing my curse on to you. So it's like, oh shit. It's like, so now he knows how to make cursed corpses with, with the whole thing about the cores and stuff. So like then later it's like, oh, maybe he can repair Panda. It's like, nope, nothing. Just,
why would he?
And then that's another thing too. And I say that specifically because that's a thing that talks about curses being passed on or telling people's curses. And like the fact that like Takaba, when we first get introduced to Takaba, he talks about like comedy and shit, but then he talks about ratios and he talks about 7-3 ratio. And people thought, oh shit, Takaba is going to get Nanami's ratio technique because curses can kind of just go wherever. That never happened.
I feel like Takaba, if he was written right, he could have been the strongest character in Jujutsu Kaisen. I think he could have killed Sukuna because he thought it was funny.
I mean, he still is the strongest character, but like, that's why they sent him to fight Kenjaku. But still, the whole everything. But I guess we'll go down the list here. Let me cross out or mark fucking Hikari versus Urame real quick.
Can I also just bring up my biggest one on here?
Yeah, go ahead.
Dude, explain to me why I need to give a fuck about the Heian Era. like seriously? Like, we spend the whole final arc with the big joke is, Sukuna being like, I haven't used this technique since the Heian Era, and Sukuna defeated the 5 Void Generals during the Heian Era.
At the very end of season 2, Kenjaku says, hey, this is just like the Heian Era, the golden age of curses.
Yeah, the golden age of curses. Oh, by the way,
not Nothing else on it.
It doesn't matter. It literally doesn't matter. Like, it's almost like they use like that as like an explanation of why Sukuna is supposed to be like this feared curse, is because he had all these quote unquote feats during the Heian era. But like, we have no sense of power scaling to the Heian era. Like, how am I supposed to know? Like, was Sukuna Wilt Chamberlain? Like, was he a foot taller than every other player in the fucking league? And that's why he was, dunking on everybody in the Heian era? Because nobody was even close to his level and everybody else just sucked shit. I mean, there was never any sort of power scaling done with the Heian era. And it was just like, oh, I haven't used this technique since the Heian era. Blah, 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 blah.
Yeah.
Like, I hate that shit. I hate that shit.
Yeah,
it'd be like Naruto never talking about the fucking prior Great Shinobi Wars. Like, oh, they just happened.
Anyways, I would be so mad. Oh man.
Could you imagine? That would ruin the whole show.
But I'm glad they did explain it because that shit was awesome. In Naruto.
Exactly. Yeah. It would have been cool if we would have got like, I mean, I'm not asking for a whole fucking Heian era arc or a prequel series or anything.
I am
cool. I would watch it absolutely. But goddamn, we couldn't have got like 2 or 3 chapters.
We did. Didn't we get like one where Sukuna is just like a flashback, and it's like, I'm here with my girlfriend.
Okay, should say we get several flashbacks of that era,
and I don't even know what they gave us with those.
They're all spread out, and they really don't do much.
It's almost like they're just memories. Like it has really.
So like Tanner says, it's like there's all this like throughout the series. It always mentions the Heian era, all these organizations that existed. Because a lot of the Colon game players are like, I guess half and half or whatever. A lot of them are people who existed in past eras who got turned into curse objects and then they're resurrected. And so they're bringing all these people in and their history and their past. And it's just like, okay, well, what does that do? How does that affect us today? Like what is the connections here? And like their ties to these like other families, the organizations and stuff. And it's just like never shown, it's just never explained, never gone any deeper into. And like, that's fine. Like Tanner says, we don't need a whole thing, but like, I know a lot of people were like, oh, at some point during the Sukuna fight, we're more than likely going to get a Heian era flashback. We're going to get Sukuna origins. Never got that ever. We just had bits and pieces thrown at us, and then that was it. And I guess a lot of these open threads kind of concern with the Heian era, like Sukuna's origin, Sukuna's weapons. There's another one here. How do Tengen and Kenjaku know each other? Why was Sukuna referred to the Fallen? How does one become a cursed object?
Where do cursed things come from? Do we know that? Like how cursed spirits are born?
It's explained like in the first season.
The negative emotions of
humanity.
Oh, okay.
But that's also that's another thing
also
too.
Only mentioned one time at the very beginning of the series.
Well, no. So actually it is mentioned several times, or quite a few times, not several times. It's mentioned a few times, specifically Tsukumo talking to Geto about this. For some reason, cursed spirits only arise in Japan. And so there was like this whole thing about that, about like, that's why the US that's why the US infiltrated Japan. They wanted, but then there's also the stuff where Yuta goes with Miguel back to Africa, to Kenya to get that black rope. There's like stuff potentially like, it's just, that's the thing. It's like, it only happens in Japan for some reason, nowhere else. But there are special cases here and there, and it's just like really weird. It's like there's so much. I would say that's not really open thread. It's more of like potential of like there's so much you could have done there, but you didn't. Did they
explain why Japan had so many? Is it because it's isolated?
No, they just say that
Yeah,
because
they
of
just
negative.
say yeah.
It just it's only in Japan. Negative human emotions create cursed spirits, and that's why they arise. And then certain like fears of specific things can create cursed spirits, and then those cursed spirits, if it's like tied to a specific idea, they can become potential apparitions, and those potential apparitions can be seen as deities or gods. That's something that is something that's never explored more than, because Kenjaku does summon the smallpox deity, which is supposed to be based off of the smallpox disease, because people were so afraid of it. And then there's the locust curse because people's fear of locust. Then there was when Haibara, Nanami's partner, when they were first years, he died because they went to an area. They have a regional deity. They didn't realize it was a regional deity, and that deity killed Haibara. But that stuff is never really explored or explained more than, kind of another missed opportunity there.
I feel like they had like an Indian like deity in it, didn't they?
Yes, Kenjaku summons Ganesh. They don't call them Ganesh though. They call them, or Ganesha. They don't call them that. They call them the remover of remover of obstacles
would be an awesome name though.
no, it's remover of obstacles or something, because that's what is Ganesha. So Kenjaku pulls out Ganesha during the fight with Tsukumo, because he thinks that her ability applies to it works with the law, within the laws of physics. So if you have a deity like Ganesha, who is the remover of obstacles, and that works within the laws here of the universe or whatever, then it should kill her. But it didn't. It ended up getting annihilated because her shit doesn't follow the laws of physics.
That's bullshit. They killed her off after one goddamn fight. God.
Yeah, I know. That's
and it was one of the deaths that stuck.
Yeah, and it's also one of the cooler fights in the show. I'm really excited to see the animated, because I love Tsukumo. I love her abilities, and I love her. Amen.
No, that like the Colin game is going to be insane. It's going to be so awesome. Yuki Tsukumo, a mishandled character and another kind of missed opportunity. And that was also crazy too, is that like people talked about this, about how you have all these you have the 4 special grade sorcerers, some of the most powerful sorcerers ever, and people making theories of like the reason why something's considered special is because if it has the potential to be infinite. That's why Geto is special grade, is because he can infinitely eat curses. He has no limit. Gojo literally has infinity. Tsukumo affects mass to an infinite degree. Like there's no limits to what she can do. And then Yuta can copy like infinitely or whatever. So
and Badlands chugs can chug infinitely.
Yeah, but then you have 3 of those special grade just annihilated, just gone, just killed. So then it's just like, well, what is this power system? How are you going to set up these very powerful characters and have them killed off so easily? Which, to be fair, Kenjaku and Sukuna are such huge threats that you could say, yeah, it makes sense. But, it's just kind of like, okay.
That's one thing about Dragon Ball that I appreciate, is that the power system is numbers, and the higher number wins.
Yeah, I mean it's simple and it makes sense. So but kind of going off again, Heian Era, we don't know anything about Sukuna's origin. We just know that he ate his twin in utero.
Awesome.
He became some kind of like mutant like freak that made him resent people, but it also is what kind of gave him the drive to become as powerful as he did, basically like attaining godhood. And then we know that he has weapons, 2 mythical weapons. He has the Vajra and the, I think it's called it's a Trishula, but I think its name in there is called Hiten. Those are shown constantly. He even gets to use Vajra because Yorozu is able to make him a copy of it, and but it gets taken away, and we only get it for 1 chapter. So yeah, okay. But then again, we never know how he got those, where he got them, because if you don't know, like the Vajra and the Trishula are like mythical like weapons from like Hinduism and Buddhism. Like those are like, why are they in the hands of an evil god? You know? Sorry, I say evil. How like obviously how good and evil is different, differently like viewed.
Sukuna's evil.
Yeah, no, I'm saying Sukuna's evil. No, don't get me wrong. It's just like I'm just saying in terms of like, you know, like how did he get those? How did he obtain those?
Hey, probably by beating the 5 Void Generals.
Oh,
okay,
dang.
Yeah. So Tanner keeps mentioning that. That was something that was also set up is who are the Void Generals? They mentioned the 5 empty. They're called the 5 empty generals. They're called the 5 Void Generals. It's
Void
the same
sounds
thing.
cool.
Void sounds cooler. Because empty, I don't understand empty. Why would they?
Empty's the same as void.
I know, but I think void is better. They're mentioned. They're talked about being very important, very big players in the Heian Era. They were defeated, and that's it. Then there's the Fujiwara, Sugawara, and Abe clans. The Fujiwara is connected with the 5 empty generals, and so like, you know, the Sun, Moon, and Stars squad, like what happened there? There was like some big battle, and that's it. And then the Abe clan created this pacification squad that Angel was a part of, which is why Angel is so intent on hunting and killing Sukuna, is because they were defeated. Well, what happened there? Who was a part of that team?
What is Angel?
What is Angel? Yeah, because there's this weird like mesh of like Buddhism, Hinduism, and Christianity in here, and it's never really like what's going on here.
Don't worry about it.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah, so that like, yeah, so that's just some of the open threads here. Another one too is how do Tengen and Kenjaku know each other? That is something that is briefly shown, is that Tengen and Kenjaku, because Tengen is so fucking old and Kenjaku's so old, and apparently they might have studied together or something. They were friends.
They played Xbox together.
And it's also like kind of hinted at like Sukuna, Kenjaku, and Tengen, like kind of all three of them might have been like friends together or might have been close in some capacity, because Tengen's form is like kind of inspired by Sukuna's form. Like, why is that? You know, what's going on there? And then also too, like Kenjaku sharing, this is another open thread, how open barrier techniques work. Kenjaku and Sukuna are the only 2 people in the manga that when they open their domain, they don't have a barrier. They can open their domain in a physical space and create it in our world without having to seal in a barrier. Why is that? How does that work? Why can they do that?
Hey, I bet it has something to do with the Heian Era.
Yeah, I bet. So there's that. Like, what's the connection here? Like, also too, I love how people are saying like, what if in the Heian Era, Tengen, Kenjaku, and Sukuna were that era's big 3? That'd be so fucking funny.
I don't know, man. It's just like and there was possibilities for like another one I want to mention just real quick is like the sorcerers captured by the United States. Like that could have led to something so cool, and then that's kind of just all that's ever mentioned about it. It's just like, yeah, the US stole some of our sorcerers.
Yeah. So towards the end of the Culling game, the US invaded and captured a bunch of sorcerers and cursed users or whatever, took them, and then at the very towards the end of the manga, one of the final chapters, Maki talks about her and Yuji kind of going around. They're gonna find all of the rest of the Culling game players. They're gonna remove any of them who are not awakened, the ones with cursed objects. They're gonna remove those, and then they're gonna Maki, I think it might have been just Maki, or maybe Maki and Yuji are gonna go to the US to retrieve the sorcerers they had stolen. That would be super interesting to see. I would love that, a Maki solo mission where she takes on the US military. Like, Okay, that sounds awesome, but we're not going to get that.
No, and like so, Wenzel. I'm actually looking now. There's not. It's not actually one of the open threads you have, but like we never see them mourn the death of Gojo. Like we never see like a funeral or anything. Like nobody's really sad. Like we kind of get the funny bit after the fight where Gojo's like, "Hey, Megumi, by the way, killed your dad. My bad, dude." But so that was like one of the theories is like I saw a lot of people have online that I actually really liked was that the US actually sold Gojo's body and they were going to harness his curse energy to like make the US like this cursed energy superpower, and that was going to lead to a part 2. And do I think every series, every shonen deserves a part 2? No. But goddamn, was Jujutsu Kaisen not one that could use one or something?
That's
like Jujutsu Kaisen. It not necessarily should have been a 2-part. I think it could have just been 1 part if.
You could have just
if it just went on if it just went on longer. Oh yeah. I agree. But like also too because it was ending, it's just like oh shit, it needs a part 2, because it ended. So like that's that's why I think a lot of us think it should get a part 2, and I actually saw that same part of that same theory about Gojo's body being collected. The only reason why I don't really think that happens is just because they had his body when Yuta transferred over, and then when Yuta transferred back, they had his body.
I feel like it had too many eyes on it then for something like that to happen.
Oh no, I completely agree. It just feels weird that they're just like, oh man, I can't believe Gojo left out these funny notes, that silly goose.
Yeah, no, that's kind of the thing is like people are like, Gojo was never seen really as a person, just another weapon for them to use. So they didn't warn him, which just kind of sucks shit. But then also too, like that's something that could be a good like characterization or dialogue to have in the manga is addressing how they use Gojo. Sumiki gets a funeral, kind of, even though she's there for who?
Gojo.
I don't know who that is. I don't know who that is, Colt. Shut the fuck up. We're talking about important people here. Megumi's sister, who is there for
nothing really.
Because like Sumiki's dead. It's Yorozu. Yorozu takes over her body and then kind of just fucking fucks off and then goes to has Sakura fight her. And then
what was the point of that?
So there because of a driving force for Megumi to be depressed is because his body was used to kill his own sister, and then also too she would give him Vajra, but then Vajra is really never explored besides having it taken away. Or he uses it to fight Kashimo, but he can't fight Kashimo with it because it summons lightning and Kashimo absorbs electricity. So
awesome. Cool.
So it's never really kind of the Vajra too is a crazy weapon like in mythology. So it's like if there was more emphasis on how important that was, that would have been cool. Let me see here. Big thing I put at the beginning because it just happened. Yuji's domain expansion. We have no idea what it does or what it's even called. That's cool.
Did we see him use it? I can't remember.
Yeah, it's the whole fucking train, and they go crawfish fishing.
Oh yeah, I guess his domain expansion is chilling with the boys.
Domain expansion Saturday afternoon.
God,
awesome.
And what's so crazy too? That chapter ends with Yuji pulling the pose from the painting of like Fallen Angel or Lucifer or whatever, where his arms are crossed, where he has his arms crossed, and he looks at Sukuna. And he's like, "Yeah, I can kill you." It's so fucking hype. And then literally right after that, it's like, oh, there's 5 chapters left. Immediately the hype is just like, what the fuck?
There's 5 chapters left, and the next chapter, Yuji just hits a fucking black flash on him. And it's like, this is what he's been doing the whole time.
It's like nothing's changed, man.
I don't understand how they defeat him. I still don't understand like what changed for them to be able to defeat him.
It was Nobara.
It was Nobara. It was because Nobara comes in at the end. So it's like a lot basically, but it's Nobara using resonance. The fact that Yuji attacks affect the soul. So because of her resonance affecting Sukuna's soul and Megumi's, and then Yuji hitting him with a black flash, it damaged the connection between Megumi and Sukuna's souls. And then the final nail in the coffin was Megumi being like, you know what? Fuck you, Sukuna. I'm gonna live my life. And
I'm not depressed.
I'm not depressed. And then Yuji's able to completely rip Sukuna off of Megumi's body.
And then it becomes that little potato thing.
Yep. It's just like Parasite. Senichi. Senichi. That's exactly what it looks like. Yeah. Also, too, Megumi's complete domain expansion. We never see what that fully looks like.
It was cool in the cockroach fight, right? That's when it was used?
Nope. He never fights a cockroach. He fights Reggie.
Giggle.
He fights Reggie, and then we see his domain. It has a part of a vertebrae column, but then that's it. We don't know why it looks like that. We don't know why he's making a skeleton, or we don't know.
He also didn't tame Maharaga.
He never tamed Maharaga. And then also, that's another thing too. It's like, okay, how many of his actual fucking shadow or his Shikigami are still alive? You know,
he's got the dog. I think
he has the dog. That's all we know. We never see his other. I think we see almost all of them except for Tiger. We never see Morning Tiger, which fucking pisses me off.
Well,
when did the owl die?
They explain early in the show. They're like, yeah, when one of them dies, they fuse into one another. Okay, so his dog should have been fucking ripped to shit.
Because Maharaga's dead.
Yeah, because Maharaga's dead. And it's just a fucking dog.
Well, it's a werewolf, kind of.
I mean, yeah, it's a werewolf because it's both dogs. But, like, where's the rabbits? Why is it not ripped to shit like Maharaga? What's going on? Where's the elephant trunk?
Yeah, that's actually a good point, Tanner. Why? Where were you gonna ask, Colt?
I was wondering, when did the owl die? Did the owl die?
Nui?
Yeah.
Nui? They didn't die. So, okay, I bring this up because Gojo fights the merged beast. I can't remember her name. But anyway, he fights the merged beast, but it's merged with Nue, Morning Tiger. It's also fused with a snake. I don't know how it's fused with a snake since the snake died. Which again doesn't make it that was another thing too. It's like, okay, so because Sukuna has control of the Shikigami, that means their forms change, right? Does that mean he's able to restore the Shikigami because of his curse energy? That's why some of them, like the snake popping back up, is because he was able to restore it.
It's possible because they talked about that Nue was stronger when Sukuna summoned it because Sukuna just had so much more curse energy to pull from. So that's entirely possible. I'm fine with that being a plot hole. If that was my only plot hole of the story, I'm fucking okay with it.
Yeah, sure, but I would love an explanation. Like, yeah. I know.
Yeah, and also Megumi just having like 7 abilities that he can't use.
Like
despite threatening to use them all the time.
Yeah, and then, gosh, let me think. I feel like I had something else to say about. Yeah, Nue. We don't know. We don't know what happens when the merged beast gets killed. We're not talking about the merger thing, the merger entity that is like hypothesized or whatever. We're talking about the monster that Sukuna uses with Maharaga to fight Gojo.
I don't even know what the fuck you're talking about with the merger demon thing.
It's what Kenjaku gives Sukuna after Kenjaku, quote, dies, unquotes, and it looks like Tengen. It's like a little embryo, and Sukuna kind of eats it.
What the fuck? That he just eats it and nothing happens with it?
No, it's more so he eats it, but to kind of just hold on to it into his body so that like later he can decide what to do with it.
Yeah, because remember there was a rule during the Colon games that the only
Megumi had to be the one.
Yes, Megumi had to be the one that started the merger. So the whole point of Sukuna fighting everyone was he was going to, defeat that line of defense, then use Megumi to start the merger.
Yeah.
So it was kind of like Sukuna holding on to it until then. But it never, he lost, so it never really came up again.
Yeah, and then the rest of the Colon game players, we don't know how many are left or who's out there.
Technically, the Colon games did not end.
Like, technically, yeah, they didn't end.
Yeah, so
I promise you, I've read the manga. I've read every single chapter. I don't remember how or who started the Colon games.
Kenjaku
did.
Okay,
he starts
why is it still a thing if he's dead?
Okay, so that's the thing. So the last 5 chapters, they explain that since Kenjaku, this is going to come up. Since Kenjaku died, quote unquote, we don't know if he did actually. There are some restrictions and certain things that are going on that the Colon game hasn't ended. And then not only that, he put a rule in where I think he had the Colon game players all have to die before the Colon game can end. And so that's why he was going around. Oh my God. Okay. Actually, hold on. There was a chapter. It was literally right before he starts his Takaba fight where he explains why he's going around killing all the Colon game players because he needs the game to end, but he fucked up. So now he has to end the game himself in the most menial, one by one way possible. And they even call him out for it. Oh my God. So they kind of explain that, but it's basically that. But since that means that they'd have to kill the Colon game players, Yuji and Maki don't, or the Jujutsu currently doesn't want to, the sorcerers don't want to do that. So now that's kind of like its own plot thing of they're having to figure out how to end the Colon games and how to deal with all the players and stuff.
Okay.
Hey, Colt, we won't see it, so don't worry about it.
Yeah. I'm just thinking how that could work. Can't you buy yourself out? I feel like there was a way to bow out that I'm just not remembering.
Yes, there was a way to buy yourself out, but the problem is
you have to kill people.
You have to kill people, and they're trying to stop that from happening.
I don't know how the fuck that would play out.
Well, that's what's interesting. That plot right there of trying to end the Colon games after its creator dies actually is fairly interesting because how the fuck would that work? But again, we won't see it, so it doesn't matter.
Just fucking write and don't do the art. Get someone else to do the art for you. There's so many mangaka. There's so many manga artists out there that are looking for work. I promise you that they can work for you, buddy.
That was the thing. I've told Colt and Tanner this. He's had so much. They've had so many problems with doing the manga, with doing the art and stuff. It's just write. You're not a bad writer. Just fucking focus on writing and have somebody do the art. That's
definitely see there being a Jujutsu Kaisen book in a couple of years, kind of like the Bleach novels that have come out over the past few years,
and those are good.
Yeah, they are.
Yeah, I will say people think that some stuff actually there might be light novels that come out later that might explain some of this stuff. But that's not what we're talking about here. So
we ain't talking about that shit.
I guess I'll just try to go through these quickly. We never knew what happened to Yuji's father, Jin Itadori. We don't know if he's dead or if he's just missing or what.
He fucked Kenjaku. We know that.
He probably busted so hard he died.
Who is Nobara's mother? Because apparently that is something important. Because Gojo took his time to figure that out, but she throws away her paper saying she doesn't fucking care.
I'd also like to see Nobara's older friend find out that Nobara is actually alive.
That would have been a satisfying thing to happen. Yeah. Okay. Apparently the best So somebody who's name dropped once in the entire fucking manga.
Where is he?
The best first grade sorcerer, Usami. And not only that, if nobody's been keeping up, or if nobody knows, recently, this past week, Gege drew an official portrait of Usami and character remarks about Usami. But the thing is it's over, so it doesn't matter.
If he's so strong, what was he doing? What was so important? What was more important than a world-ending demon?
Maybe he's on vacation.
Yeah.
Fuck, he's turned his phone off too.
I mean,
he's like,
you gotta remember they fought Sukuna on Christmas Eve. I mean, he could have been with.
Shoot.
He turns on his phone and he's like, it's just blown up. Like, it just.
Yeah, he finishes opening presents with his fucking kids. He goes, "Oh fuck!" It's like realizing you didn't have to go to work that day.
Yeah, it's January 2nd is when he checks his phone.
It's one of the and most of the messages are just from everybody saying help.
He was on a cruise, so he didn't have service.
He's just like, he shows up to work. He's like, damn, did somebody die?
Somebody catch me up. Last thing I remember is we got Gojo out of a box.
Sukuna's back.
Why is Megumi here? I thought Nobara was dead.
Oh man, that's good shit.
Also, too, it's funny that you say last time we got Gojo out of a box. It'd be funny if Usami was in the background of them opening the back end of the fucking prison realm, and he was just there for that. In the background.
He's like,
okay, yeah, I was there.
He's like, yeah, it's 4:58. I have to leave at 5, so you gotta hurry this up.
I would love there to be a sorcerer like that. It's like, you know what? It's after 6. I can't kill
Nanami.
It was Nanami. That was his whole character.
That was Nanami. But he was killed off so fast. I just needed more.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, that was his whole character. He got more powerful after 8 hours on the clock.
But also, too, he hated going into overtime.
Yeah.
So.
No, I want a guy that never goes into overtime. Like, if he sees someone fighting a curse, he's like, I'm out.
Yeah, no, that'd be great. Yeah, the thing with Usami is what they said was like, he was more like by the book rules and stuff than even Nanami or Gojo. Gojo and Usami did not like each other. There's also a hint that Mei and Usami had like a fling.
Ooh.
So
Wee Wee's gonna be mad.
Yeah. So oh god.
Does CPS ever save Wee Wee? That's another storyline that we didn't get.
Yeah. What's going to happen to Japan after losing Tengen? So if nobody remembers, Tengen was the reason why a lot of the cursed spirits in Japan. Actually, that might have been reason why a lot of the cursed spirits were in Japan, was because Tengen had such a powerful barrier that it kept it contained. I didn't think about that until now. But like, yeah, so it's like but now because Tengen's gone and the barriers are gone with Tengen, like Japan is destabilized now. So what's going to happen? No, we don't know.
Spread out is my guess. If they brought them towards Japan.
See, yeah, that was another interesting thing is like, again, like it'd be really cool to explore like different folklore and different spirits and stuff in other countries, but you know, maybe, so this is kind of not really open, but it was kind of interesting because this could have been its own thing. Mei's mission to infiltrate the new Shadow Style school. We get a new character that's introduced in like one of the final chapters, and
like literally 269.
But then that character is just killed off immediately. Yep. So it's not a big deal. It's just that could have been its own thing. Like that's huge because the new Shadow Style school is like a big presence in this universe because of the binding vows and Kusakabe and Miwa. Really, we only get this explanation because we get this here is because to explain why Miwa was able to help in the fight because of what she did, and she made the binding vow that she put all of her life into this blade. So you know, if she If she can't use it again, that's fine. She doesn't care. So if you use the blade again, she'd die. Blah 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 blah. It was to explain that, and then Kusakabe taking over or whatever. It would have been cool to have it more explored, but that's not happening. Mei Mei's real name. Mei Mei is not her real name.
Megan.
So is Yu.
It's Wee Wee.
Wee Wee. That's not their real names. We don't know their real names, so that's still kind of a secret. The Gojo clan. We never see any more of the Gojo clan. We only know Satoru Gojo. So that's
hey, all you need to know.
Yeah, sure. What did Gojo say to Geto before he killed him? That's a huge mystery.
I think he said "Yo Mama." I think "Yo Mama" is very valid to say to your best friend as they're dying.
Yeah, but that would have been a curse, and apparently he didn't say a curse. So, post Shinjuku Jujutsu Society, because Gojo killed all of the higher ups, so we know the whole. Sorry, somebody say something.
I just said "oops."
Oh yeah. So we don't know what that really looks like. There was somebody talked about in the thread about the inverted spear of heaven, a broken piece of it. I don't know. That's something there. We never saw the domain expansions of Ishigori, Oro, Tsukumo, or Hanami, so that kind of sucks. And then the Ayuno Jujutsu Society, their name dropped once and never again. So
yep.
And that's kind of it. We covered everything for like open like stuff.
Do we? I know Colt mentioned he wanted to give a score. Colt, you want to give your score, and then Wenzel and I can give ours for like for the manga as a whole.
Yeah, I can do that. To give you a little idea, before the last, say, 20 to 30 chapters or so, I would say Jujutsu Kaisen was sitting at a solid 7.5 for me. I was enjoying it. I really was enjoying it. It was hit pretty hard in those last chapters, last 30 or so. And it's this is probably going to be some heresy to some of y'all, but I give it a 6.5 out of 10. It was a good, fun story. I imagine the anime final results will be a lot higher. For me, at least.
Yeah, I can see that. I think I like the series more as a whole than you do. I agree that the much from Gojo's death onward, and it's not that I'm a Gojo glazer. It was just like, man, that is some really lazy fucking writing. And then just to extend the story like they did. I would have probably had JJK as a whole if it would have wrapped up in a enjoyable way and didn't drag out its final arc so long. I could have saw myself giving it an 8, maybe. But yeah, Cole, I'm right above you. I would give it a 7.
That's fair.
For the manga as a whole, yeah.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I've said this before, and I mean, this is probably still true. I'm probably the biggest lover of JJK, but dragging that Sukuna fight for so long as they did, and I will defend that part and say, look, Sukuna was hyped up to be as strong as he was. Of course, it's going to take a lot of power to defeat them, sure, but at the same time, it's like you dragged it on for so fucking long, and you could have used that time to kind of explain or go into these other like plots. Threads that you left so fucking open, like the time could have been used for something else. Yeah, and I of course I'm going to still watch the anime. I'm hyped as hell for it.
Yeah.
Season 3 is in development as far as I know. So that's happening.
Get back to work now.
So yeah, but as a whole, I have to. I mean, Tanner, you stole my rating. I give it a 7 out of 10, man.
Well, there you have it. I mean, and you can't have another opinion.
Nope. It's either a 6.5 or a 7.
Or a 7. And you have to think everything we thought.
Yep.
Now, I'm just surprised that you both scored it so low, but after like talking it out, I was like, fuck, yeah, I guess they were hurt too. It's okay, Pookie. We can make it through this.
No, we can't. It's over. It's over, guys.
Yeah, it's over. Now in 6 years when the anime wraps up, I hold every right in the world to be like, actually, it's a masterpiece when you really think about it. But
yeah, of course.
The anime it could be like a completely different situation.
I mean, it's possible. I know a bunch of people shit on Attack on Titan's ending in the
I thought it was great.
Hey, you know what? I thought it was fine. I thought it was. I mean, I didn't think it was bad. I didn't think it was a great ending. I didn't think it was bad.
Hey, me too, Tanner.
And people talked about that like their firstborn child was murdered in front of them. So, what do I know?
I mean, I guess, are there any final thoughts?
Gege, do us a favor. Post a video of you hitting the Juju on that beat dance. No thoughts?
No, this silence is just for that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, leave that in
for people to watch that. All right. Well, if that's all we have to say, never say anything else ever again. Thank you for listening to this episode of the All You Can Hear podcast. We're on SoundCloud, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Overcast, and YouTube, where you can listen to us. Give us a rating, review, feedback. We really appreciate it. It really helps us out. Subscribe to us. You can follow us on Twitter at AYCH Podcast. You can follow the Backlog Boys Pod. You can follow Cage and Greatness. You can follow the instruction booklet. They're all good. They're all great. They're all fun. Follow us on Blue Sky, AYCHpodcast.bsky.social. Follow us on Instagram at AYCH Podcast. Follow us on twitch.tv/AllYouCanHear. Again, follow us on YouTube, All You Can Hear, where we post the VODs from our Twitch, including instruction booklets VODs on there, as well as our episodes. And then lastly, you can follow me, Wenzel, on Twitter at WenzelWilkie. Follow my art Instagram, Threads, and Blue Sky as World of Wenzel. Follow my Bookstagram, Wenzel Banners, and my Linktree has links for everything.
Team Colt, follow me on Twitter at ColtD00, on Blue Sky, ColtD99. Like I said, Juju on that beat. Also, make sure you read Dan.
Yeah, Dan's still there. Chainsaw Man's still there. So read those.
Yeah. You can listen to me on here. If you're listening to this the day of release, Monday, October 14th, I'll be live, twitch.tv/AllYouCanHear. Later, 7 p.m. Central, Plane Still Wakes the Deep. So come out, come party.
Get crazy, get loud.
All right. Well, thanks.
I love you.
Hollow Purple real quick.
No!
Oh!